Yeah, this is a good example of a room which I think most people would say was sopping wet. And you can see, if you look down here, the wallpaper is actually stained and wet. And in the corner here you can see wet stains and damp stains. So most of it's actually salt. And what I've got down here, you can actually see on the wall, this is salt forming on the wall. It actually feels damp. Now the relative humidity in the air outside, you can see it's quite nice weather out there. It's sunny, it's about 50-55% outside. And I've got a probe behind the wallpaper, and we're looking at relative humidity behind that wallpaper. And you can see that it's 58%. In other words, it's bone dry. There is nothing in here. Now the rising damp wallies would stick their ping pong meter in here, and because of these salts, and you can see my hand is getting covered in salt and paint, they get 100% here. This would be completely soaked with rising damp, and in actual fact there's nothing there. It's bone dry as usual. And if we look up here, we'll see that there's a lot of staining, and the reason for the staining, if you look close, is because there's a bit of pipe in there, and that pipe's been attracting condensation. And again, if I stick the probe in behind it and we have a look, there's a tiny bit more condensation there. It's going up a wee bit, and that is because that piece of copper pipe in the wall is actually attracting condensation. If we take the piece of copper pipe out, it won't absorb water, it won't attract condensation, and it won't wet the wall. So all of this is due to one thing, and that's that silly little bit of copper there. And you can see that it's covered in blue and green stains because it's attracting condensation. And there is the reading, 73-74% relative humidity. And all of the water in this wall, all this, is just due to a silly bit of copper. Now, I'm going to take you into another room, and this is a very good example again. You can see, obviously this is the classic rising damp, patches everywhere, and gee, oh dear, we've got a sopping wet wall, rising damp everywhere, or, well, have we? And bear in mind the relative humidity on the day is around 50 to 55. It goes up and down, and there's the hygrometer, 51, just rising a little bit, it's adjusting in the room. So there's the probe. This is apparently sopping wet, full of rising damp. Well, let's just go in behind the wallpaper here and see just what we get. And of course, with that probe in there, it should be going off a scale. It should be going to 100%. Well, guess what? It's not. It's just ticking around 56, 57. It's not particularly wet. What we've got here is an accumulation of salts from condensation, and condensation has got trapped behind all of this. This actually feels wet to the touch, and it's because salt has saturated the paper, and the reason for it, a little bit of cement render on the wall. That's about it. 60%. It's settling down now. There you go, 60%. It's virtually bone dry. And again, we'll pick one of these wet patches here. I know I've already done this morning, but just to show you, we shove the probe in behind that. There it is, sitting in behind the supposedly sopping wet patch. 58 is barely above background. 58, 59% relative humidity, 58.7, 58.8. So we've got a very dry wall And the only thing that feels wet in this wall is these actual patches, and they feel wet because they're full of salt. And again, very simple to solve. All you do is take it off, take the paper off, and behind it, I think you may be able to see a little patch there. That is lime. Beautiful traditional lime plaster. You just see lovely white plaster. So take all this rotten stuff off here. There's umpteen layers of salt soaked paper. Once that's off, this will be a warm, dry room. There is a little bit more damp in here, and it's because of a chimney. This chimney is modern. The chimney breast has been rendered with cement, which is my absolute nemesis. I hate the stuff. And it is trapping salts into the chimney breast, and you can just see we're beginning to get, you can see a little bit of a stain there, and stain on the breast there. That is also salt coming through. And down at the bottom there, if you see, you can see there's like a triangle of salt in the back corner of this little cupboard, and that is salts being forced out of the chimney, and these salts are forming by reaction with the soot in the chimney, which attacks the lime mortar in the chimney breast itself. Soot is hygroscopic, it attracts water, forms a very acidic environment, and then attacks the lime, which then obviously produces calcium, magnesium sulfates and nitrates, and they travel around in the structure of the chimney. They end up down at the bottom, and they generally end up on these bottom sections, and they are very, very hygroscopic. Salts are like salt on the kitchen table. They attract water, so any moisture that's in this stack is going to be accelerating because there is salt there. For solution, open it up, get all the wallpaper off, get all the plastic paint off, remove all of these modern wrappings, if you like, these plastic mats, the PVC overcoats, and the whole place will dry out. The salts will come to the surface, you brush them off. Once you brush them off, they can't attract any more moisture, so keep brushing them off until no more appear, and then bod's your uncle. You've got a dry room, no rising damp, no problems, and everybody's happy. So there we are. I'll do a little bit more in a minute.